And the truth is we don't know until we know, right? And so like everything that I knew before was all I knew, and that was life, and that was how things were supposed to be. And then it was like the light got turned on, and now I'm like, holy shit. So in trying to change all of that, I've been also trying to learn to value myself and prioritize myself, but really value myself enough to be able to give myself permission to get the things that I need and want, and that bring me happiness in my life. And you know, embracing all of myself fully and bringing Jennifer into my life was a huge step for me. That was so huge and so hard, because it just, there was so much self-doubt and so much like, I'm just a terrible person, and, you know, it just can't be okay for me to have something that I want. It just felt so hard. So like, that was really, Raina's like so much supporting me right now that she literally has her nose touching me on my back, just as I'm talking. She's like, I got you on this one. Thank you, baby. So much so, oh crap, I lost my, so I was talking about, Raina distracted me. Anyways, okay, so yes, embracing myself. Like, it was just so hard to think that I could have something that I wanted, and that I had wanted my whole life, and honor that part of me that was missing. That was never, it wasn't missing, but it was hidden, you know? So embracing that was huge for me. But there's this other part that I realized, and I think this is part of our healing journey, that it's like, you know, layers of an onion. We're constantly getting to more layers and realizing, oh my gosh, okay, there's more. And the farther we go, it doesn't end. And I don't know why. Sometimes I think that, like, come on, I should know all this by now. I should be past this. But there's always deeper, there's always more to, like, even if we've worked on one thing really hard, there's always deeper parts of it that need more healing. And so this area of valuing myself, it came out through this whole experience with my toe. Because when I went to the doctor with my son to get it done, like, I was sitting on this, you know how they call you back, so you in the waiting room, and then you get called back into the room to wait for the doctor, and there's usually like a couple chairs and a desk for the nurse to sit at, and then there's like that, you can't call it a bed, but it's like a bench that's up higher with like a pillow on it. Anyways, that the patient goes and sits on, and whatever. That's for you. The doctor looks you over. Well, that, so there's a lot of when I took, my son had this procedure done. He had a really bad ingrown toenail last year, and I had taken him into the same place to get his done. And when they went to work on him, they took us from that room with that, just the bench that you sit on, and they took us back to actually a room that looked like a surgery type of room. So we had to go in this whole other room, and then it had this chair that they hired, that they had almost like a dentist sort of chair that, you know, you can make go higher, and then she extended it out so my son was laying down, and then so she had this assistant and these tools, and they could be on these chairs and wheel around him and do all this stuff, but he was laying down, you know, comfortably for them to do the procedure. Well, on mine, the doctor never had me leave that room where I was just sitting up on the bench, and I realized he was going to do the surgery right there, and I didn't want to watch it. And I couldn't lay down. There wasn't enough space. I had to hang my leg off the edge for him to work on it. I had tried to see, after he put some shots in and he went out, I tried to see if I could lay down, and there was this huge gap between the back of that bed bench and the wall, so I couldn't lay down. It was so uncomfortable. And I was like, oh my God, he's going to literally do surgery on me while I sit up. And I can't even lean again. I can't even lean back. There's nothing to lean back on. And so I was so frustrated thinking, why can't I go to that room where I can lay in that chair and at least be comfortable and not be forced to watch this or, make sure I close my eyes. Like, I was thinking, I don't know how bad this is going to hurt, but if I pass out, I'm going to fall off this freaking bench. Anyways, I wanted to ask him, but I was too afraid. And so he worked on my toe, and all I did was I squeezed my son's hand and leaned my head against the wall. And I just, to the side. I couldn't lean back. And it was really uncomfortable. And later on, I was telling my son how much I hated it. He's like, why don't you ask him? In the middle of it, after he did some shots of Dr. Manal, I told my son, like, I want to lay down. He's like, why don't you ask him, take him to a different room? I was like, I don't want to. I'm scared. And so I never did. And when I went back to the doctor the second time, they didn't work on it, but I was going to be like, please. I was going to at least try to say something if they had to work on my toe again. But she didn't have to work on my toe. So that was cool. I'm jumping ahead. So after I went to the doctor the first time, I went to pick up my prescriptions later on in the day. And my toe was in horrible pain. Like, the numbness wore off in like 20 minutes. And so later in the day, I went to pick up my prescription. I had been walking on my toe, so it was really irritated. And I was just driving, and suddenly, like, these pains started shooting up my leg. And my toe felt like it was on fire and getting run over by a semi-truck at the same time. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And so my youngest was with me, and she's like, Mom, are you okay? I'm like, no, it hurts so bad. And so I pull into the drive-thru to go through, and I was thinking I could go inside and buy some, like, Tylenol or some ibuprofen, but I literally don't want to walk. Like, my foot hurts so bad. And so I had text Jennifer, and she's like, why don't you just ask the drive-thru to sit, if you can, buy it at the window when you pick up your prescriptions and just have them handed out to you. So I was like, okay. So I went to the drive-thru and I told them about my prescriptions, and then I said, I need to get some ibuprofen. And they said, okay. And then they said, well, your prescriptions is going to be about 20 minutes. We'll send the ibuprofen out with it when you come back to get it. And I had this thought that, like, I need it now. I'm hurting really, really bad, and I have a 20-minute drive home and a 20-minute wait. Like, I need it fucking now. But I didn't say that. I just really weakly said, yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you. And drove off. And I just started crying. My daughter looked over and she's like, what's wrong? I just started crying because I was mad. I was mad at myself. I was like, what is wrong with you? Why are you so afraid to tell people what you need? Like, why can't you stand up for yourself? And I just instantly started berating myself. You're a terrible person. You're supposed to be, you should be over this. This is part of your learning and changing. And look at you. You haven't changed a bit. You're just a big chicken. Can't use her voice. And so I'm just berating myself. And I felt horrible and angry and frustrated with myself. And I told my daughter what I was feeling, because she's like, what's going on? And she said, Mom, you have changed a lot, and you have grown a lot, and you are a badass already. Like, you've already come a really long way. Don't forget how far you've come. And I just took a deep breath, and I was like, you're right. You're right. And I tried to reframe it and stop being so angry at myself, and, like, just realize that this was another layer. This brought up another layer that I don't have to bump up against very often, because I try to not be at the doctor. And but in these situations, I just shrink. And, I haven't had a lot of, in this area, I haven't gotten to have a lot of practice. So I took some deep breaths, and I tried to stop screaming at myself and being angry. But it just made me realize, like, good God. Like, it is so sad that I don't value myself enough to say, I'm in a lot of pain. I need that right now. Like, it wouldn't have been hard for them to be, oh, here, let's go ahead and pay for this and I'll hand you that out and come back for that. Like, they probably wouldn't have been upset, but in my mind, I pictured them being like, okay, hold on, and then being all mad and frustrated with me. And even at the doctor, like, I thought, well, he'll get mad if I try to ask for something better, I'm going to inconvenience people. I don't like to inconvenience them. Like, so I've been thinking about that. Like, where is that coming from? What is that messaging? Why am I wired like that? And I was talking to Jennifer a little bit about it last night, and I just said, I think part of it is like being raised in such a big family. Like, it was survival of the fittest, and I didn't get a lot of like one-on-one care. I think that was really rare. If I got sick, my mom would make sure like I had what I needed. But mostly it was, you take care of yourself, and if you're not to the table on time, you didn't get food because everybody else ate it. And there wasn't like spoiling or, I guess I should say that, like, I feel like my mom really specialized in discipline and training, but like the care and the valuing part is where she lacked. And so for me to value myself